Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in podcast. I'm Brendan Cunningham, the real estate doctor here for EXP.
Yep.
Matt Paul, we're going to talk about all the things that happened this week and some of the crazy things that are out there in the marketplace that you may have heard of. But great news this morning. I don't know if you saw it. Mayor Ryan, you live in the city?
Yep.
I live in the city.
Yep.
Just announced he has an incredible program to really enhance the whole thing about affordable housing in Buffalo. I was really excited. You heard about it, right?
Yeah. I didn't get the details.
You didn't get the details. Yeah, he's raising the taxes 25%. April Fools.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, it is April Fool's Day. And
it is April Fools
Day.
That good? I know. You're right. Where's he going with this? He's got to make me look dumb.
I'm missing some detail.
A lot of details. You know what? And I'm going to throw
a proposed 25% increase. Sorry, that is just an asinine.
Okay, sorry. But you know, I'm going to throw him a bone.
Okay.
I don't really.
Yeah,
I'm not, I don't know if he's. No, I will. I'll throw him a bone. I don't think he's a bad guy. However, I think he has a terrible team. Mm-hmm. They've had the same bozos in there for the last 70 some odd years. Mm-hmm. And who are you going to blame? Yeah. He says the city's broke. It is. Yep. Off like $100 million.
Like Chris Scanlon, who was the interim mayor, went to him about this problem when he was a senator, and he did nothing about it.
Yeah.
So how's he going to do it as a mayor?
Well, but what he did say was, he said, you know what? He says, we're broke. He says, this is the situation. He says, previous administrations, I think that's as close as he got to saying, yeah, my team, a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have to take them all on,
No, well, yeah, because he can't. He can't throw. He didn't mention people by name. He couldn't do that because he just can't do it because that's unfortunately he's off the team. But here's the bone I'm going to throw him. Tax-wise, Buffalo actually is taxed very favorably for consumers relative to other cities, not even comparable size, but just other cities. Mm-hmm. New York City's taxed at a higher rate, Rochester, Syracuse, and we're at one of the lowest.
But we have had 2 reassessments in the last 5 years in the city.
Yes, and I think what the concern is, even though the proposals to go up 25%, that doesn't necessarily help affordable housing.
Oh, no, it's going to push a lot of people out.
It could push some people out, and they say, well, the average guy's only going to be paying maybe $30 or $40 more.
Not 25%.
You're above average, buddy.
Not 25%. No way it's going to be. It'll be hundreds of dollars.
I think the big concern is, okay, once they start doing this, all of a sudden, they say, let's go and hit him again.
Yeah.
Let's go and hit him again.
Well, that's my point.
Let's go and hit him again.
We've already had it twice. So the city didn't do reassessments forever. And that was, what it was. And then they had one in 2020, 21. Then they had one 23, 24, because every 2 years is when you're allowed to do it. So now they're really on par to doing it every 2 years, which is now it's becoming excessive for the people that I know that are in fixed incomes that are now paying, $5,000 a year in taxes in the city when it was $2,500.
Right.
That's devastating to somebody who's on a fixed income.
And everyone talks about affordable housing like it's like the weather, but nobody does a lot about it. And unfortunately, part of the mantra of certainly the administration in this town is people are expecting like the government to do something to create affordable. Could you take care of this problem?
No.
That you've partially created.
No, I would say.
And well, I'm trying to be kind here.
Sorry.
And I know it's hard, but the whole affordable housing thing. It's when people ask us how's the market, it's a very complicated answer. There's so many moving parts.
Yes, absolutely.
And I've watched cycles and cities and different markets, and this is very reminiscent of when I was living in New York City back in the 70s and 80s. We had a situation in the 70s with Nixon. And rampant inflation. And then we had oil was $125 a gallon. And I was happy that I had moved into the city at that part of my life. And first thing you do when you move into New York City is you get rid of your car. Get rid of that freaking car.
Public transportation.
Well, this is what happened. Gasoline prices got stupid high. And then they actually, the government's going to fix it. They started doing price mandates on things. That really worked well. But you weren't even around yet, but they had the thing where you couldn't get gasoline at all on certain days. They rationed it out. and it went alternate days. Like if you had an even number in your license plate, you had to go on this day. If you had an odd number, you had to go on this day.
Wow.
And then when you got there, the lines were around the block. They were miles long, places like Long Island. And something crazy happened. People started to figure out, wow, I'm spending 3 hours driving to work every day. The gasoline's killing me. Maybe if I lived closer. And what happened was there was a mass reverse exodus back to New York City. I was one of those guys. Okay. Even though I was already in the city, I sort of inherited that wind behind me. And I became an urban pioneer, like a lot of people. And we see a lot of people, like they went onto the West Side and they started renovating those neighborhoods over there. The reason why they did it in Buffalo, though, is because it was affordable and the taxes were lower.
Gotcha.
See, and so something happens and then something else happens to respond to that.
There's always going to be
and as a result of that, we heard for the first time ever the term gentrification. I was one of the gentry. I came in and I renovated a building and I continued to do that. And the neighborhoods changed and the prices went up. If they start raising the tax base in Buffalo, all the people that left and came back,
they're going
to say, yeah, maybe this isn't for me. But the next time, they're not going to go out to the outer ring. They're going to just leave town.
Yeah, or the state.
They're just leaving the state.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more of that where people are leaving the state. Yep. Florida is the big inheritor of most of the people around here. Mm-hmm. Some people are going to Texas. The Carolinas, red hot. Carolinas are red hot right now. North Carolina, I think, is the hottest place to go from what I hear. So, yeah, there's stuff going on. We had rain.
Yeah.
Did we have rain over the weekend?
Quite a bit, yeah.
I was telling Maddie I had to go for a rehearsal last night, and I know the person's house. I've been to it many times. I drove past it 3 times because I didn't know that they suddenly had waterfront property. I didn't recognize. I'm serious. They had this lake in front of the house. I said, "Oh man, I'd kill myself. Yep. This is nothing you can do about it."
So this is the time of year where you can't hide it. If you're going to have there's no hiding it.
I love that. In fact, one of our colleagues posted something on Facebook. He was talking about they checked the box. No, they didn't have water on.
Oh yeah. Let me see a picture in the backyard, and from fence to fence, it's a pond.
And there were ducks out there swimming around. You got to keep it. So. Interest rates up, down?
Yeah, they just went up a little bit. About 6.5. You know,
still well below the national 8% gold standard.
Yep. Yeah, gas went up, is continuing to go up a little bit here, but hopefully that's.
It's a temporary condition. It was a temporary condition even under Nixon. It's just that they handled it. I'm gonna have to say they handled it poorly. It went on much longer than it needed to, and the solution was almost worse than the problem.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Have that.
But it was interesting. The law of unintended consequences. They didn't realize they were going to drive people out of Long Island back into New York City.
That's what our lovely governor was saying a few years ago. Don't worry, go to Florida. Go.
Now she's asking them.
I know.
She's going with hand in hand. If you're really patriotic, you'll give us your money. Because we're not going to give you anything for it.
Because of the tax base that was lost.
The tax base that was lost.
But you're not enticing people to come back when you're threatening them with a 25% increase in taxes, at least in the city.
And the other thing in the city of Buffalo is when, let's just face it, it's just not a business-friendly town.
No, it's not. Jamal.
Jamal. This guy, a great business guy. He did so many wonderful projects.
There's 10 buildings up for sale.
And you know what? He said, yeah, F you and the horse you rode in on. I'm done. I am D-U-N.
Couldn't get anything done. The politics prevented
it's like crazy. Yeah, and I like to describe myself as a Jeffersonian Republican, even though he wasn't. But the government that governs best governs least.
Yes.
The more you put the government doesn't have the solution. The government is only going to give you a new problem on top of the old problem.
Exactly. That's going to cost us all more money.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. And
it'll be interesting to see what happens. I want to stay positive. Hopefully, it won't last as long. I think I heard yesterday they're estimating maybe a couple more weeks in Iran. If that is the case, then hopefully.
There's nothing left to bomb.
I know, right? Well, it's that Strait of Hormuz.
They got to rectify the Strait of Hormuz. Yep. I get that, but and the other thing, it was so crazy with all these people that have, they embrace this Green New Deal, the stupidest deal in town. We're sitting on so much oil and gas. It's it doesn't make sense. And now they're saying, well, yeah, maybe we need to rethink this a little bit.
Yeah.
Even the governor was saying on her timelines,
Yeah.
she's pushing them out now to like 240 and 245 or something like that for us to have the windmills,
No.
you know,
Yeah.
and the wooden shoes to go with them, you know.
No, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to have a sense of humor in this business because
Yeah.
you watch these things and people, they'll ask us, and everyone's expecting that magic solution, and they're expecting it from the government.
Yeah,
When was the last time the government had a magical solution? I tried to think about that. When was the last time they had a really good program? And I said, oh, what about that thing that, remember Obama? He had that thing, the buyer program.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, it was an incentive, first-time home buyers.
First-time home buyers.
A client of mine used it, and then I remember there when they sold though there was some
You got to pay back.
You got to pay it back and stuff. But yeah, that was that program I think helped spark some.
It did. It
activity.
did. And there was a spike. Whatever it was, 15 years ago, I guess it was.
Well, now they're still talking about the 50-year mortgages. If that comes out, I think we're going to see a little more activity with that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the 50-year mortgage. I mean, yeah, what most people don't realize, I don't want to say that they're unsophisticated, but especially if you're a first-time buyer, especially you don't realize, you take a 30-year mortgage, it's essentially all interest for the first 6 or 7 years. It doesn't start to really dip into that principal very much.
No.
If you have $1,000 payment, chances are it's $990 going for interest.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
and it doesn't.
50-year, you're talking 20 years plus of interest.
And that addresses the question. Well, who's going to do this? 99% of the vast majority of people don't live in a house for 30 years.
No,
they just don't. The average is anywhere between 7 and 11 years, depending on where you live.
Yep.
Okay, so really, most people don't pay off the 30-year mortgage that way. If they're going to pay it off at all, they'll pay it off through other means of investments and things like that. But they don't usually make that last 30th year payment.
So you get into a 50 if that's your only option due to payment or whatever the circumstance, and then you have a 5 to 10 year plan. You're getting out of it with maybe breaking even. You're probably not going to gain that much equity like you would if you were in a 15 or 30 year. However,
you're not going to get it.
You need the stepping stone. You're not throwing the money away from renting.
Yeah, you're not going to have equity appreciation by paying down your payment.
No, you're going to have it from market appreciation.
Market appreciation, which is
still pretty solid around here.
It's still very solid around here, and that's been how investors make money in places like New York City, because you can't get the rents to cover your expenses anymore. That ship sailed 20 years ago, at least 20, maybe more. So the only way you can really make money on investment properties down there is if you buy it for $1 million. Hopefully, you're going to sell it for $2 million.
Yes, yeah, and that's
appreciation,
right?
And you can do that usually pretty much all day long. And I started to consider, how all these things that happen in our marketplace to affect valuation. And let's think about it. Mondami coming into town, whether you're a fan or not. Let's think about, what does the average real estate investor think of that? Is it good or bad that he's in the driver's seat? What would you say?
I'd say bad.
You would say bad. Okay. Well, it could be good for somebody.
Yeah.
Who could it be good for? Well, it could be good for a potential buyer coming into the market, because prices will start to drop. So they could get a bit of a deal, especially as more and more people say, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm not going to do this.
There's a mass exodus.
And could there be? I'm not. Was it you? One of our. It might have been you. You said you were talking to a guy in New York City, first day that they announced that Mondami was going to run. He said, "Good, I'm out of here." He had 80 texts that day.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Wasn't
I
he?
heard about it.
He had 80 texts when they just announced that he was going to run. He said, "Get me out. Sell it. I'm selling everything. I'm moving out. Get me out of Dodge."
Yep.
So.
And that's, obviously that's Manhattan, totally different than upstate.
Totally different.
But a lot what we've experienced here, and growing up here my whole life, a lot of, rules and laws that are developed in the city trickle downstate.
They trickle
And
downstate.
they don't necessarily cater to the same type of like the co-ops, and so it's totally different in New York City. So to think that what will work in New York City will work in upstate New York is kind of it's
really
it's bonkers.
It is bonkers because they are different worlds entirely.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that happens in real estate in general is there's a certain amount of drift. I noticed that a lot of new ideas tend to go from the West Coast and they come east. But we have this big Megillah about 386 miles south of us called New York City. Whatever happens, if they sneeze, we hear it up here.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our government is really run by downstate.
It is, absolutely. Yep, because that's where the majority of the population is.
And people say, well, it should be a different state. Well, if it was, that'd be fine, but it's not going to happen.
No, I don't think so.
And frankly, if it was anything like that was going to happen, we should probably be at least 4 states. There'd be New York City, Long Island would be another state, Hudson Valley, upstate, and then Western New York. And Central New York would be a different state. Because they're totally different culturally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just beef on weck and 8 creams we're talking about. They're just different culturally. I mean, somebody once made the remark about the United States. He says, it's actually like a series of countries.
Yeah.
And
well, it is the size of Europe.
It actually is. But I'm looking at my watch here.
Yeah, I don't think it moved.
It's okay.
We're pretty much at the mark.
Okay, so at any rate, there's lots of things going on in the marketplace.
Yep.
And
we have a couple special guests coming.
Yeah, we have another cool guest coming in next week. I think you're going to enjoy. He's a mover and shaker, and he really proves there's a number of reasons why people want to live here specifically. Right. And I think, in spite of all the affordable thing, we are still the best game in town. Yeah. And if people are crying about prices here,
it's a lot worse.
It's a lot worse in other places.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Anyway, that's our show.
Thanks for tuning in. Please like, subscribe. Let us know if there's anything you want us to address on the show.
And I'm Brendan Cunningham, the real estate doctor, and together we are those real estate guys.